Now, if we're talking about the feet, what is happening here? Let's look at this guy's leg here. So we're going to talk about the outward spiral. The outward spiral is basically an external rotation of his leg. So his big toe is pushing toward the center of the foot, basically rotating the foot this way, out and away. So it's external rotation of the leg. Now, if we're talking about the internal spiral, it's the opposite. So his leg is turning this way now, and the spiral will be in toward his center line. So for the legs, the easiest way to think of this is just basically, are you turning toward or away from center line with your leg? So if the leg is turning, like if you were standing on ice and instead of pushing yourself away, your foot was just pushing to the side as you're trying to turn your body, it would be the equivalent of this. And it's going away from the center line. And as it goes away from the center line, it's as if the big toe is pushing toward the center of the foot. And as that's happening, you're sending a spiral down through the leg that does this and that, right? It's turning that foot away from center line. So outward spiral for the leg is away from center line. Inward spiral for the leg is the opposite. So this is now coming, instead of thinking of it going down the leg, think of it more as drawing up the leg, and it's going this way toward the center. Okay, so the inward spiral is spiraling through the leg toward the center line. The outward spiral is spiraling through the leg away from center line. So that's the big difference. And both legs can do either spiral. Typically in Tai Chi movements, what you'll have is a situation like this, where if this person is spiraling as shown here, so I'll get rid of these real quick, and we'll say what he's doing is his body, his upper body is going to be turning this way, right? So he's turning to his left. So what's going to happen there is he's going to have an outward spiral of his right foot, the foot that's pushing away from center line, and he's going to have an inward spiral of his left foot, the foot that's coming in towards center line. So what you have is your feet like this, and when you're going to the left, you have an outward spiral on the right foot, an inward spiral on the left foot, so it's this. And that allows your body and your feet to go in basically opposite directions so that you can generate power down into the ground and up into whatever it is that you're doing. And this is really all coming from the Dantian. So when we think about this inward spiral, think of it as a draw from the lower Dantian, pulling up through this leg, causing an inward spiral here to the Dantian. When we think about this outward spiral, think again about the Dantian as the center of movement, and the spirals coming from the lower Dantian, going down the leg and pushing out into the ground. Here I'm drawing it off to the side. It's really pushing down into the ground through the foot as you're doing that spiral. So that's what's happening with the lower body. Now this also gets into the idea of what's going on with the quad or the hips. Now the inguinal crease here is often what's referred to as the quad. Really, your quad is basically going to be the ball and socket joint of the hip. So that's what allows the leg to move, and that's really where these motions are coming from, being generated from the lower dantian going down into the legs. That has to happen at that hip joint. So there's a couple of different things that are said, and this is kind of a side note, but I'll come back to it in future videos. In Tai Chi, there's two different things that you want to do with the quad. One is fold the quad, the other is open the quad. Now, when we talk about opening the quad, what we're talking about is releasing tension from this area so that it doesn't get locked up there, and it's not, like I talked about in the purpose of relaxation in Tai Chi videos in the Tai Chi Basic series. The purpose of letting go of tension, aside from efficient motion, is if you're working with a partner and you're doing like push hands, for example, any spot of tension is basically a lever that they can use to get you off balance, control your center. So if you release tension from the quad, release tension from the hips, it allows for this spiraling motion to go down into the legs, to come up through the legs. It allows for efficient motion, and it also allows for you to retain control of your center without giving it to someone or giving it up to gravity, because you're able to move in a stable way. So that's the concept of opening the quad. Now, when we talk about folding the quad, that basically is allowing the legs to relax and you sink down so that there's a crease in that inguinal crease area. And that's really important for your structure in Tai Chi training. And we'll get more into that in future videos. The reason I'm bringing it up here is because the amount of fold in the qua can change. If your qua is open, if your hips are open and they're able to move freely, then the amount of fold is going to change a little bit. And this is also a way that you can kind of determine the type of spiraling silk rilling motion that's going through your leg. So what happens here, we'll continue with this guy turning to the left. He has the outward spiral going down through his right foot. He has the inward spiral coming in from his left foot. So what's happening with the qua, his body, as we said, is going to the left, which means this here, let me get rid of some of these spirals. This here, the fold in his qua, or that angle of his inguinal crease, is getting smaller. So this and this are approximating, they're getting closer together. What's happening on the other side is the opposite of that. So over here, the inguinal crease is opening up. So that angle between the leg and the body is getting wider. So the important thing with that is you want to make sure you don't push it all the way so that it locks out. That would be closing the qua, even though it's more open. You want to maintain that fold in the qua, but it's widening. So you get less of a fold on this side, and you get more of a fold on this side. So let's repeat that discussion really quickly based on this image over here, so we can see it kind of from the back view. So again, he's turning to his left, he's going that way. What's happening is he's sending an outward spiral down his right leg this way. From his lower dantian, he's drawing an inward spiral that's coming up this way toward the lower dantian. That's what's happening there. On his left side here, we will see that the angle between his leg and his body gets more narrow. On his right side over here, we would see that the angle between his leg and his body gets wider. Not to the point that it locks open, but it's wider on the right, more narrow on the left. That allows him to turn to the left. So that means on his right side, he is doing a shun, or outward spiral. And on his left side, he's doing a ni, or inward spiral. So that is silk rilling through the legs, just in kind of a rough conceptual framework. I'm going to come down here. So I think this is a good stopping place for this video. In the next video, we're going to talk a little bit more about how what the legs are doing incorporates with the torso, incorporates with the rest of the body, and then extends into the arms. So we've covered basically in this video a rough idea of what silk rilling is. We have covered a little bit of terminology, Jing versus Gong. So that's the energy that we're talking about moving through the body, or the motion through the body, and then specific exercises that train that motion or train that skill. We talked about how with the hands, an outward spiral is one in which the thumb goes toward the center of the palm. An inward spiral is one in which the pinky goes toward the center of the palm. Again, with the legs, when the foot is turning so that the large toe or the great toe is going toward the center of the foot, or the foot and leg is externally rotating from the body, that is an outward spiral. Conversely, when the pinky is going toward the center of the foot, or when the foot and leg are internally rotating or turning toward the center line of the body, then that is an inward spiral. So I hope this was a good introduction for you. And if you have any questions about this, please leave them in the comments below. If this didn't make sense, please let me know, and I will try to make it more clear in future videos. If you did enjoy this video and if you got something out of it, please like the channel, subscribe. Please share this video with anyone that you think would enjoy this topic or enjoy this information. And also consider becoming a supportive member for this channel to help ensure more videos like this will be made available in the future. Stay safe and healthy out there, and thank you so much for watching.